não querer. Honorable members, the Honorable Mr. President.
Good morning, dear colleagues. I would like to invite you to an opportunity for silence, prayer, and meditation. You all be seated, please. Colleagues, once again, good morning to all of you. I would like to welcome you to our session. I hope that you have had the time to rest. I recognize the attendance, the presence of interpreters and media people. I invite the clerk to give us the first item in the order of the day. You have the floor, sir.
Presentation and discussion on the activity report of the Pan-African Parliament.
May I rise on a point of order? I rise on a point of order.
Yes, you have the floor, Madam.
Yes, I would like to ask where the copy of the activity report is. We cannot have a presentation without having caught sight of a report, especially if we are going to be debating it.
Good morning, honorable members. The copies of activity reports will be distributed soon.
So, on the further point of report, when you say it will be distributed soon, when will the members have an opportunity to look at that report before it is presented and debated?
Honorable members, we apologize for the late distribution of the activity report. It has in fact been distributed, and those members who have not received copies, the ushers are distributing the copies right now.
I address you again on the point of order. I submit that it is unacceptable and that we either amend the program in order to allow the members to look at the report so that they are fully prepared. So, may I proceed?
Interpretation, please. Portuguese.
Interpretation is available, sir. Interpretation is available into Portuguese. Thank you.
Mr. Clark.
I'm addressing you, Mr. President, Vice President. I'm addressing you and asking for a ruling. It is unacceptable to give me a response to say it is being distributed. And I'm asking you to give us an opportunity to look at this report. You must also understand that we are here as delegations of countries. We need to caucus on our position on the report. So I am submitting, it is unacceptable that the report was not distributed earlier. I'm submitting that we amend the program in order to give countries an opportunity and members an opportunity to study the report so that when the presentation is made, we can have a healthy debate. I so move.
Honorable members, I apologize for the late distribution of the activity report, but I urge you to allow Mr. President to proceed with the presentation while we are reading the report, and then we'll debate on the report. Mr. Clark, I invite you to read the...
Acceptable.
No.
I put a motion, Mr. President. I'm asking you to put the motion to the House and take a decision.
Okay. Mr. President.
Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving me the floor. Independently of the decision you are going to make as chair of this sitting, I wish to recall that in line with our rules of procedure, it is clearly indicated that the President presents a report to the Assembly of the Heads of State, and that's what we have done so far. And this is a brief summary of our activities. You may recall that this summary was postponed because of the lack of a quorum. We met Friday in order to consider the report. You may recall that we clearly indicated that since there were too many amendments, we would amend the report and send it to the delegates. That was the decision we made. I'm surprised this morning to see that this report has not been sent. Following our meeting on Friday, we decided to send the report because it was supposed to be presented this morning. To my great surprise, the report has not been circulated. I don't know the reason behind this. The clerk can explain the problem to us. Something happened. I would like to appeal to you, dear colleagues. Now the elections are over, and now we need to work in the interest of the Pan-African Parliament. I'll do my best to make our activity possible. I do not understand this. Following the meeting of the Bureau on Friday, the three vice presidents were there. We amended the report, and we decided to send this by email. Today is Tuesday. What is not working properly? I do not want to address this question here in the plenary. The clerk will have to tell us what happened between Friday and today to see that the report has not been sent. I appeal to you to understand this. The report includes all the activities carried out so far. When we talk about the report, this is in line with our rules of procedure, we would like to know what is the reason behind this delay. Thank you.
Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Honorable Vice President. The report was, in fact, changed when the Bureau met on Friday. The changes were presented to the drafter, and it was amended. The amendments were completed on Sunday and sent for translation on Sunday. The drafter forwarded the report to my office on Sunday, and I have a record that on Sunday it was sent for translation. I also have a record that the instruction to my office on Sunday was that this report would not be presented today, but that it would be presented on Wednesday. Late yesterday, last night, is when it was communicated to my office that this activity report will no longer be presented on Wednesday. The reason being that on Wednesday, if the activity report is presented on Wednesday, then we would have both the activity report and the report of the Committee on Audit and Public Accounts being presented on Wednesday. And the treatment for the two reports was different. For the activity report, the media would be welcome to cover. For the committee, the report on the Committee on Audit and Public Accounts, the media would not be allowed. So if we put the two reports on the same day, once the media are in, it would become difficult to get them out when the report on CAPA is being presented. So it is for these reasons that the report is being distributed today. The report was ready for translation on Sunday. It could have been circulated last evening if the information was that it is being discussed today. That's what I would say, Honorable First Vice Chairperson. Maybe this is not a politically correct thing to do, but this delay is not due to inefficiency or otherwise of the Secretariat.
Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair.
You have the floor.
Yes. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. On the basis of the explanations given, I beg to move the postponement of the deliberations on the report until tomorrow to allow us an opportunity to read the report.
Seconded.
President.
Vice President. Vice President.
Yes, Honorable Didiza.
Thank you very much, Vice President. May I address you? The President gave us his input, clarification. The clerk has also given us his clarification on the delay. And on the basis of that, I would really second the motion by Honorable Mtsamai that we defer the report for discussion so that it allows us time to actually go through it. I so move.
Honorable members, based on the importance of this report, I accept, and I want to appeal you to continue with the second order of the business, and this report will be discussed tomorrow. Mr. Clerk.
The second order of business is presentation and discussion on the 2019 budget report of the Pan-African Parliament.
Monsieur le Secrétaire Général.
Mr. Clark, the agenda item a point of order, Mr. President. In relation to the second item that I wish to indicate, it was only this morning that the budget was given to us, and we did not have the time to consider it. If we follow the same basis of the debate on the first item, we need to postpone the consideration of this item too.
Oui. J'appuie alors cette
I support this point of order by Mr. Abu. Thank you, Mr. President. I also second this proposal by colleague Abu in the sense that we need to have time to consider the document to be efficient with our debate. Thank you.
La motion d'ordre est. Y a-t-il d'autres propositions?
Are there any further proposals? So we accept this point of order. Mr. Clark, is there another item in our order of the day?
The third order of business is presentation and discussion on the report of the regional seminar, Connecting the Dots, Supporting 2030 Agenda, ATT and UNPoA implementation through increased parliamentary engagement and action in international processes.
Can we discuss this debate? Did you receive a copy of this document? Yes?
Thank you. I think if we're going to adopt that principle, Mr. President, that we have adopted, all these reports we only got this morning. This report I only saw this morning when I got here. So I think the whole program is going to have to be postponed. I don't know if we're going to adopt that, Mr. President. I have a concern, but this report as well we only got this morning.
Seconded. Mr. President.
Chers collègues, suivant.
Dear colleagues, I think that we are here to work. If there is no possibility of working, you should tell me why you don't want to work. In the past years, we used to have the report and discuss it. Now people are raising exceptions. And what do we do? Mr. President, this is in relation to the positions made that we are taking the floor. We have always considered reports by having them just when we come in, so people cannot intervene in this manner to postpone our work. And that's why members are intervening in this way. So let's not be frustrated by this. Thank you. I think that we need to be realistic. An activity report that reports on past activities means that we have to have a copy of it beforehand. But since I joined this parliament, we have always received our reports as we come in this house. So let's be realistic. I understand that for the budget, which is important, we need to consider it and see the problems in the document. Those who made the first point of order did not react to this. Curiously enough, I think that we need to be realistic and we need to work on the basis of our order today. The President presents his activity report, and this report can only report on past activities. I think that we need to reconsider our program and work on the basis of what has been presented to us. Thank you. Madam, just 1 minute, please. Could you wait? Now, she wants to take the floor. Dear colleagues, I appeal to you. I've been here for the last 12 years, and it is always when we come in that we get copies of our reports. And we consider them in this way. This has been the practice since I arrived here. Sometimes we give 30 minutes to people to read the report, and then we come back. So we can apply this principle. We can adjourn for 30 minutes. People can read the document, and then we can come back and pursue our work. But to block our deliberations, I don't know where this will take us. But allow me to say that, and as indicated by the Honourable, this is a summary of all the activities carried out so far. Here you will find the activities of the committees. I simply report on these activities, but it is a brief report, a brief summary of those activities. Can the finance... It is actually the committees that send the elements to the clerk, and the clerk compiles all these elements in this report. And this is what makes the activity report. As I indicated earlier on, we have to be clear on the meaning of this report. It is a report of the activities between the sessions, because the rules of procedure indicate that the President submits the report to the Assembly of the Heads of State. So we can consider this report, and but in the case of for the budget document, we can also consider it in this manner. Thank you, Mr. President.
And then you.
Okay, thank you.
Madam first, and then Fantamadi.
Okay.
Fantamadi.
Merci.
Thank you, President.
Faut dire en français.
Yes.
Okay.
Should have told me that in French.
Mr. President, my in-law was rushing to come before me, but I understand we are in-laws, though we are honorables here. Thank you very much. I do appreciate, Mr. President, the concern that you are raising and the other members. Indeed, it might have been the practice But for some of us who are new members, it is a worrying practice that has continued, because it does not, in my view, afford us an opportunity to engage meaningfully with the reports that are tabled in the House. It is for that reason that when other members said all the reports that were received this morning, we need to get an opportunity to read them so that they can be debated while all of us have had an opportunity to see them. I didn't object, because I appreciate that that should be the practice. And I really would appeal that if we want to be taken seriously as this House, as the assembly of the continent, though maybe not legislative at the stage, but I think it is important that those we represent feel that we meaningfully engage on their issues. It may be true, Mr. President, that for some old members who may have been part of the committees, who may have sight of the work that they have been done before, they may be appraised about some of those issues, so it may not be a problem. But for some of us who are new, it would be a little difficult to get 30 minutes and go through all of these reports and then make meaningful submission. I really would appeal, Mr. President. If we were saying we're adjourning until after lunch, I would maybe consider. But if we are saying 30 minutes, I don't think it would be adequate. Thank you very much.
Honourable, I said that often there were cases. I said that there were often cases where we adjourned for 30 minutes or an hour to give an opportunity to the MPs to read reports. That can happen, and it has happened in the past. Yes, go ahead, please. I just wanted to raise the issue just like my colleague. So by postponing and postponing, that's not going to serve us. The session should actually end on the 17th of May. So I echo my colleague to ask everyone, it is 9:32, to accept that at 11 o'clock, we can begin deliberations. The report is a political report. As he said, the compilation of activities effected by all our committees will be understood by members of the specific committee. So it is also between sessions what the Bureau has been able to do. So I don't believe that there is anything to hide. On the contrary, we should be very glad that the committees have done work, or maybe our work, the report on our work is not included in this document. So I ask everyone if we could please resume our proceedings at 11 o'clock. Thank you. Yes, Madam.
President, I'm just seeking clarity. A proposal, a motion was made and it was seconded that we defer the activity report and the presentation of the budget to tomorrow. That is my understanding. It was a proposal, a motion made, it was seconded and acceded to by this House. We are now talking about a committee report by two different committees. And I submit that we can proceed with that work maybe after the 30-minute recess where we can look at it. This is, when we're looking at items 1 and 2, that is oversight by all the members of this House. Therefore, we ask that we have enough time to engage with that. When you're looking at items 3 and 4, this is a presentation by a committee. They've already had the presentations, they've done their oversight on it, and I think they're just presenting to the House. So I submit that we can proceed with items 3 and 4 with the recommendation that we give the plenary an opportunity to peruse those reports for 30 minutes or 40 minutes or 60 minutes, and we can proceed with items 3 and 4, but items 1 and 2 we defer to tomorrow. I don't think, Mr. President, it's about us not wanting to do work. We came here prepared to work. But if we don't have the tools to do our work, how do you expect us to be effective? I do not want to leave this assembly knowing that I didn't exercise my oversight role effectively. Thank you.
Honorable
Oui,
Chair.
Honorable Gina.
Merci.
Yes.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. We need to be consistent with ourselves. 2 days ago, we were ready to ask that this activity report was presented before we even had it. So now we are saying that we need time to read the report. That's number one. Number two, indeed, I support what my predecessors have said in saying that we didn't have any problems when reports were distributed on the same day and debated upon there and then. So if we are given time to read the reports, then it must be time to read all the reports. And then we cannot accept that the Secretariat cannot put at the disposal of the honourable members the reports. They could have been sent to us last night. So I think that this is deliberate, and that leads to confusion. Thank you.
Kasingo from Namibia. I'm one of those people who also have been here for some times. I tend to agree with the proposals that item 1 and 2, we defer it till tomorrow. I should think it's to your benefit, Honorable President, if you allow us to go through our activity report. Finance matters are always very, very important. This item, I second the motion that it should be deferred till tomorrow. And item 3 and 4, there is no harm if we can proceed just right away. So I move.
Chers collègues.
Dear colleagues, I don't know what we want to make concerning this Parliament. This activity report was asked for. I think that indeed there was a problem, because if the report had been ready yesterday or Sunday, even if the program had to change, we could have sent this report by electronic mail. Well, that hasn't been done. Tomorrow there is another agenda. The plenary will decide to amend the agenda. Although it is said that the President can amend the agenda. So what are we going to do with the items on the agenda for tomorrow when we know that our session ends on the 17th? Are we going to have an extraordinary session, and who will pay for that? Thank you, Mr. President. I think that we are facing an obstacle that is not really one. Because there is a dualism here between the principle and reality. The reality, well, look at this hall, Mr. President. We wish for everyone to read this report. But if we wait for tomorrow, I think that we will have a room with less participants. I believe that as we are used to doing, we can present this report today. I have looked at the program for tomorrow, which is quite busy. So what are we going to do? Are we going to stay longer? When we come here, we have airline bookings that are difficult to change. So for most of us, we know that the session will end on the 17th, and all our arrangements have been made based on that. So I think that the various committees will know which activities have been affected within their committee. So I believe that this report could be presented this morning, and perhaps the budget report should be read. We should have an opportunity to read the report on the budget. Thank you.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe that when we speak, we need to take into account what everyone has said. Our colleague earlier said that on the 10th, people have asked for this activity report, and the report was not available. I think that this should draw our attention. Why do we have the report today and we don't want to consider it? Is there a deliberate action? Is there something that is hiding behind this action? So do we go back to the proposal of colleagues who said that the meeting should be adjourned until 11 o'clock, and then we can, the report on the activity report can then be presented. I withdraw the motion concerning postponing the other items. Thank you.
I think, first of all, we want to appreciate the motion raised regarding the reports. But I want to disagree, Mr. President, for those who are saying there is a hidden agenda regarding the deliberation on the reports. The reality of it, Mr. President, is that it is prudent upon all of us here to be very clear on what input would basically bring, especially on the reports. But, Mr. President, I want to appeal to honorable members because the clerk had actually called for our report from the Committee on Cooperation. I want to appeal, Mr. President, if members would bear with us. Ours is a very straightforward report, which basically was discussed on the 2nd to the 3rd of March here in the plenary. So all we are bringing here is just an action plan which seeks to guide the committee and also help the members when they go back to their various countries as to what strategy or plans they can bring in an endeavor to address the issue of small arms and light weapons. So I beg the members, Mr. President, that maybe the other report which I'm not conversant about could be a bit complex, but ours is a very straightforward report, Mr. President. If they could just allow me to take the podium so that I take them through the report, then during the break they may just acquaint themselves with the other strategies which are in the report. Thank you so much, Mr. President.
Muito obrigada, Sr. Presidente.
Thank you very much, Honourable President. I would like to say that we are here to work. I believe that we will not have the time, even if someone would change our tickets to stay longer. We can't do that. We have responsibilities in our countries, and we are here to work. We will postpone all of this. So what are we going to do this morning? I think we need to be reasonable. The report was ready on Sunday. So why didn't the Secretariat send it to our email addresses? This is the first question. The second, many proposals have been put forward here. Initially, members submitted that the report should be discussed tomorrow. But after that, all the following documents, there was a suggestion that they would also be discussed tomorrow. So we would have nothing to do today. I think that the proposal from our colleague is reasonable. let's suspend the session now. And by 11 or 11:30, we resume the proceedings and discuss the report. The report is also a simple document, just like the corporation report. It's a simple document, and the activities are widely known by the members. I think that we can suspend our session, read the document, and continue our proceedings at 11, because we need to return to our countries. We came here with our mandate and specific time frame. We're not here to play around, but to work. And I call upon the Secretariat to do their part, because we are not here to accuse one another and the President when this is a joint work. So we should all make an effort so that the report is approved today. Thank you.
Dernier intervenant, on va prendre la décision.
Last speaker, we will then make a decision. Thank you. Zalikatu and Jata.
Et on va prendre la décision.
Kante. Said Rais.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, honorable members of Parliament, we have all come from our respective countries to bring the best that we can to this Parliament. And it is the right of members of Parliament to have sufficient time to read all the documents that need to be debated upon and presented. This is a principle. And I'm speaking here about the Arabic version, Mr. President. We still have not received the activity report in Arabic. The report I have before me is on the budget, is not a report. What I have before me is a list of different numbers concerning expenses in 2019. It is not a report. We should have an explanation as to how the budget was assessed, how different obstacles occurred, but the document I have only has numbers, where we only see expenses for 2018. This is not what you call a report. If we want to really work properly, we need to have proper documents and have sufficient time to read them so that we can have deliberations transparently. We don't want to hear about those who want to delay the proceedings. All members of Parliament are here to work, but it is their right to receive the documents well on time. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. After all these explanations, I'd like to suggest as follows. What is the most difficult to consider here is the budget. And we need to take cognizance of this document. But all the rest concerns reports on activities that we can consider immediately because it does not lead to any problems. I should wish for all the reports be presented. Maybe we have an adjournment of 30 minutes to read the report on the budget, and then we come here and we consider it as well. Thank you. Mr. President, sometimes I feel lost and sometimes I think I'm understanding. Before me, I have a piece of paper saying that it is proceedings from 1,400 hours to 1,800 hours. The two last items of the program, we need to consider that. We don't need an in-depth debate. However, the report on the budget and the report of the President, we need to debate them. I heard a proposal saying that we should work on these two documents now, and then we come back and we deliberate on the other reports. If we continue to debate on this issue, we will waste our time and do nothing. I support the following proposal, that we consider the two last items of the agenda. We come back to listen to the presentation of the other reports. Thank you. Honorable Jatta.
Thank you, Honorable President. Honorable President, I'm baffled. I'm wondering whether this is a parliament or a club. No, really. It is true. Like the Right Honorable President of the Rules Committee has clearly and rightly pointed out, we do not respect procedure in this parliament. Motions were made on item 1 and 2 to be deferred to tomorrow, and there were no counter motions. We all agreed to defer them to tomorrow. Why is Parliament coming back to debate that? Why didn't you raise your questions when the motions were made? This is not parliamentary procedure. We do not respect our own procedure. We do not respect our rules. I agree that the practice here has been, we come and we are giving reports and we debate them the same day. That is the truth. But the fact of the matter is that it has been moved and seconded and agreed to defer item 1 and 2 to tomorrow. Why is Parliament coming back to that?
Chers collègues.
Dear colleagues, please, when you speak, please try and speak calmly. I cannot refuse the floor to someone. There was a motion, but people also have the right to debate or to deliberate. I don't know what parliament you are talking about. I have been in parliaments for 20 years. There are points of order, there are counter points of order, there are deliberations, etc. I'm sorry to take the floor again, Mr. President. I have taken a look at the report to find out what the structure is. Up to page 36, those are activities concerning all committees represented here in the chamber. After page 36, there is the financial report until page 44, and afterwards there are resolutions. So really, there is nothing stopping us from having a quick look at this document. The committees have had activities, so that does not pose a problem. So if we need to go forward, and we have a busy schedule for tomorrow and Thursday, we really could consider this report now. Thank you.
Mr. President. Oui. Yes, madam.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'm rising to support what the colleague has said earlier about respecting our rules. A ruling was made about the PAP activity report and the budget, that the deliberations on those two items be postponed until tomorrow, and that we should proceed with items 3 and 4. Honorable President, I am a member of the Cooperation Committee. Our report is very short and straightforward, and I think, and I beg the indulgence of the House to allow the chairperson to present that report and we dispose of it.
Madame, nous ne pouvons pas aussi procéder comme ça.
Madam, we cannot proceed as such. We're not going to choose the reports haphazardly. I don't mind postponing tomorrow. There is the program for today and the program for tomorrow. People will say that they have not received the report again. That is my problem today.
Point of order.
President.
President.
Attendez.
Wait a moment, please.
Oui.
Mr. President.
Point of order. I suggest, as the honourable member from South Africa suggested, that we make the decision of receiving reports 48 hours before we consider them in the chamber. If we don't adopt a principle, we are going to continue doing the same thing over and over. So let us adopt this principle so that if there is a mistake, the Secretariat cannot come and justify anything. The explanation of the clerk is not convincing anyone. If it was ready on Sunday, it could have been sent to us. Today is Tuesday, so we don't understand. So if we make the decision today, if things do not go according to plan, then the responsibility is the staff's responsibility. It is a parliament here and we cannot continue with the bad organization of the Secretariat. That is unacceptable. And indeed, microphone, please. I suggest that we consider the reports, the committee reports this morning, and that we spend 2 hours reading the report, the activity report, and the report on the budget. Thank you. I don't know if it's a mistake. Well, if it is a mistake, it is welcome, because it says the first session is from 2 o'clock this afternoon to 6 o'clock. So, as Conte has said, we adjourn the session, and then at 2:30 this afternoon we will come back and we will consider all items on the agenda. And then we complete the agenda items today, even if we stay later. Thank you. I should like to suggest to plenary that the meeting be adjourned until 2:30 this afternoon in order to consider the activity report and the report on the budget. Yes, the principle is now that reports should be sent to all MPs 48 hours before the reports are deliberated upon.
Clarification, President.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, President. Can I just have a clarity? I don't understand you very well. Are you saying we adjourn now and come back at 2:30 for the items which we postponed for tomorrow? Or I got you in a wrong way, Mr. President? Thank you.
I think that's what I meant, that instead of postponing it, because the problem of tomorrow is that we would have to begin all over, including the issues which we are transferring to tomorrow and what we have to do tomorrow. So if we have to suspend to go and read the activity report and come in the afternoon to discuss it, it will reduce the pressure we'll have tomorrow. That's what I'm trying to say. Because there was already a program for tomorrow. So what do we do with the items which we have to deal with tomorrow? Are they not important items we have to deal with?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I've said it several times that I believe in you, Mr. President, as our president and as the custodians of the rules in this House. Mr. President, it cannot be taken so lightly, and I cannot believe it. The honorable member from Gambia was raising the same issue, and the chairperson on rules was raising the same issue, President, that the House must learn to abide by its own decisions and its own rules, Mr. President. We have taken a decision that this report should be deliberated tomorrow, Mr. President, and members were advising us that let's adjourn for 2 hours, come back and deal with these reports. And we're supposed to put a motion on the ground for us who can vote, Mr. President, about it. I think that was the simplest. Otherwise, it cannot be good, Mr. President, that we take decisions, then we go against our own decisions as a parliament. So that is my plea, Mr. President. Let's abide by our own rules, Mr. President, for the betterment of this House. Thank you so much, President.
Honorable member, I don't stand for the fact that we should put everything to the vote. We should arrive at the greatest consensus possible. Of course, we have the right. There's a spirit and letter, but there's also practice. So we are here in a practical case which nobody expected. Personally, I did not expect that the report would not be ready this morning, and the members of the Bureau did not expect that, because when we were leaving, it was evident that we're going to be sent the report on Saturday or Sunday. Now we are dealing with a practical case in law. We cannot just rely on the letter. So who made the rules? We made the rules. Who is applying the rules? We are applying the rules. But we have never met such a case where we have to adopt a principle. And I think the proposal which have been made by all us and sundry is for us to deal with this matter. If tomorrow you think that the items of tomorrow are not important, then we postpone it. We should remember that the session will end on Thursday. That's the problem. Because if we want to be very rigid, of course, the law is dynamic. But if we are dealing with practical cases like this, what should we do? You are legal minds. Tell me what we should do in this practical case. Madam, please, you have the floor. Are you making a proposal?
Madam, please. I asked the question. Can you give me the answer? I don't know if you are. Yes, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. That's precisely the answer I wanted to give you, Mr. President. So that as your bureau, you are not overruling one another's ruling because the first vice president had made a ruling. I would really propose that maybe as a bureau you meet and at 2:30 you advise us so that we don't go, this way or that way in this discussion. I would appeal to you that maybe you meet with your bureau, you then reflect, having heard all the views that have been sent, and then you come back and advise the House. Thank you.
Yes, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I think that we need to understand that the first rule that we have in this Parliament is consensus. The second rule is voting. It's in the rules. We agree on consensus. If we don't, we then vote. Mr. President, I think the consensus that I'm hearing is that we adjourn now so that members can understand the reports, and we come back at 2:30 and continue with our business.
That is the consensus which I also believe in, and I think that's the way to go. We adjourn, come back at 2 o'clock, and study the activity reports and the other reports so that we'll be able to reduce the pressure on us as much as possible. If that be the case, then it is hereby adopted. The meeting is adjourned and will resume at 2 p.m. and we'll be dealing with the activity reports of the President and the financial report. Thank you very much. 2 p.m. We'll resume at 2 p.m. and we'll discuss the activity reports and the other reports.